guys, and welcome to the Chosen League podcast, where fire sports content is the name of the game. I'm your host, Devon, and in today's episode, I'm going to be talking to you guys about last night's playoff game, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Philadelphia Eagles. But before we get into all that, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time I upload an episode. Let's get into it. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, man, Baker Mayfield made a statement. How them Eagles lose that bad? A blowout, 32-9. I wasn't really expecting that, but Baker Mayfield? Man, let's not waste any time. Baker Mayfield, 22 of 36, 337 yards, three touchdowns. In the first half, he was doing his thing, very mobile in the pocket. He was getting the ball downfield to David Moore for a touchdown, 44-yard touchdown. He had a touchdown pass to Palmer for 56 yards. Rashad White was dominating the run game. And, Baker Mayfield had a couple of quarterback scrambles himself, and he was running the ball. So the thing here, they had the lead going into halftime. Their basically their first points they ever put on the board was a field goal. So that was three. And then they start scoring touchdowns. So the only thing that Baker Mayfield did great where he adjusted was in the first half, he was throwing the ball in the tight spots where his receiver was there, but the defender was also there. So he had two possessions where it almost resulted in a pick, but luckily it wasn't. So it was an incomplete pass on those two possessions. And great pass protection by the Bucs, great run protection by the Bucs. Everybody was clicking offensively. Chris Godwin in the fourth quarter with a 23-yard catch, which was a touchdown. And everything was going through Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield is such a playmaker. He's like, it's like when he makes a play, it's just magic, straight magic. Like he knows exactly where to get the ball. He knows how to put the ball in his receiver's hands. He knows when he throws that ball, he's like, yeah, I see you right there. I got you. The footwork, everything is great. Defensively for the Bucs, they played extremely well, getting three sacks on Jalen Hurts. Great tackling. They played a lot of man coverage defense, and they were able to put pressure on Jalen Hurts and make him uncomfortable, basically. But moving on to the Philadelphia Eagles, and before I get into everything about the Eagles, breaking news: Jason Kelsey, the veteran center, has officially announced his retirement today. 13 seasons with the Eagles, seven-time Pro Bowler, one-time Super Bowl champion, and now we come to a point where for the Eagles, it's like who will fill Jason Kelsey's role? You know, what who do we know on the Eagles roster that's going to step up? So for the Eagles, Jalen Hurts, 25 of 35, 250 yards, one touchdown. Now, Jalen Hurts was off to a rough start basically all game. I mean, even from the start of the game, no, he had an issue with his finger. He had his gloves on. He had both gloves on during warm up, and then he took the other glove off, which was on his throwing hand. And it's hard. Having messed up your throwing hand, you do something to it, and then now you're trying to play with it. Just to be safe, he should have had that glove on because anything could have happened. He was struggling in the pocket, poor pass protection by the Eagles offense. He did have two complete passes to Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith was basically his number one receiver in that game last night with seven receptions, 141 yards. And then we also had Julio Jones, who, came behind that. But sadly, after that one catch, he was he left the game due to a concussion and he never returned. Their tight end Dallas Goedert, had a touchdown catch. He was making plays. We wish we would have seen him a lot more, in the game, getting some passes. And honestly, their run game with Swift, I feel like Swift was doing pretty good. He was doing very well with the run game, but it's like the Eagles stuck with the passing, and I'm like, you got to switch it up a bit. And Swift could have done a lot more if they had more plays for him. But the last two things I'll talk about before I get into the Eagles defense is this. Number one, the 2 point conversion play. Why would you guys run a quarterback sneak at the goal line? Like, did you guys not watch the game with Dallas Cowboys and Green Bay Packers? Because they did the exact same thing, especially the Cowboys. The Cowboys literally they played it smart. Okay, Dak Prescott did it like this. I'm going to fake it to Pollard, make the deep because I know the defense is stacked in the middle, so Pollard won't be able to get through the middle. Fake it to Pollard, act like I'm going to run the ball myself. My tight end is open, Ferguson, and I get the touchdown. It was that simple. But Jalen Hurts ran it in. Whoever called the play, I don't think that was a smart decision. Cut it to the outside if you're going to run the ball, either as the quarterback or the running back, or cut it to the outside with the pass. And also the 4th and 5, the fourth down conversion in the fourth quarter. Now, their fourth down efficiency for the Eagles wasn't as great. The second half became more of a defensive game. And the offense for the Eagles wasn't really clicking. Dallas Goddard was frustrated on the sideline, and you can see him expressing his frustration to Jalen Hurts. And Jalen Hurts is still trying to wrap his mind around everything. If you guys watched the game, you would have seen it. I watched the game and I seen it, and I could just tell the the Bucs really dismantled the Eagles. The Eagles were trying to search for answers and they just couldn't find the solutions. They just couldn't get it. So with the Eagles defense in mind, the Eagles defense played pretty good as well. They ended up making the Bucs kick on fourth down. They played zone coverage in the first half, and then the second half they started to play man. They ended up having two sacks. One came from Brandon Graham and the other from Josh Sweat. And the one thing that really messed up the Eagles defense was the poor tackling. You have to, as a defensive player, your tackling is everything. You have to have that technique when it comes to tackling. You learned from high school, college, and now you're in the pros. We're not trying to make a highlight so everybody can, oh, hey, everybody see me make a highlight. I knocked the wind out of this. No. In critical situations like this, you need to make the play. And the Eagles just couldn't get it done on defense because they're poor tackling. And another thing that hurt him was Darius Slay being carted off the field after tackling that Bucks defender, that Bucks player. Him going down, knowing he's your number one defensive player, it's a wrap. And Eagles just looked lost out there. They were just they looked defeated. And the thing about the Eagles is the way I look at the Eagles is like they're just like Kansas City. They were once in the Super Bowl. They went to the Super Bowl. They lost. Now they went to the playoffs. They lost. And maybe next year, if they can make some adjustments to their team, they should be in the Super Bowl next year. Or I just see the similarities with them in Kansas City. Now, if they manage to pull it off and go to Super Bowl again and win, then we got it going. But Baker Mayfield, man, Baker Mayfield made a statement and he made his mark. And it's an incredible journey that Baker Mayfield is on, going from Cleveland, being drafted to Cleveland, and then taking them to the playoffs when they haven't been to the playoffs from years and years, and then going to the Rams, playing under Sean McVay, playing with the Panthers, even though he had a rough start there, and then now in Tampa Bay, he's in the playoffs. And then they play the Detroit Lions next. That's going to be a good game. But that is all for today's episode. Make sure you once again like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time I upload an episode. I'm Devin, and I'm signing off.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show.